Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report is your preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda and an update from your Oshkosh City Manager. Your hosts, Emily Makowski of Oshkosh Community Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on your City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Emily Makowski, and as always, I am joined by your City Manager, Mark Roloff. Thanks for joining us today, Mark.
Great to be here, Emily.
Now, as always, we'll devote the first half of the show to some current events, updates going on in Oshkosh, and then the second half we'll go over the council agenda for Tuesday, January 28th, 2014. You can view the City Council meeting on Tuesday the 28th on City Cable 10 live or on 101.9 WOCT. So, Mark, we've got a few things to talk about here in the first half of the show. First thing on our list, just today the announcement was made. Chancellor Wells, after 14 years, has announced his retirement. It's a big day. I mean, it's kind of a hot topic.
Kind of sad. Rick and I have been great partners at a lot of different things, and he's been a great addition for the community. We've been able to work together on a lot of different collaborative projects, whether it was making sure we had a good, safe crossing when Sage Hall was built for the students now crossing High Avenue, selling the University Foundation property for the construction of the Alumni Welcome Center, working with them on the biodigester where we're actually providing some excess gas from our sewer plant over to the biodigester to make that more efficient. Other land issues that we've worked on, and then I think the biggest one that we've talked about in the past year has been their partnering with the Pfefferly Group and the Batley Group for the development of the Best Western Hotel. The university has been an incredible civic partner in so many different things, and I think Chancellor Wells' legacy will be his contributions towards that. So I don't think it means the end of the partnership by any stretch of the imagination. We've developed so many wonderful partnerships, and there are a lot of challenges when you have a university in the heart of a community. Mm-hmm. And there's challenges, but there's also so many wonderful benefits that come from that, and we've been able to make sure that we've had a lot of good outcomes of that. And I think Chancellor Wells' leadership is a testament to all that. So I'm going to miss him, but I know he has set in place at the university a very collaborative atmosphere that I think is going to continue for years to come.
Yes, and I've only lived here for about 6 months, and I have heard that Chancellor Wells has been a vital part of these partnerships that you just described. So I can imagine how hard it is to see him go after working with him for so long.
But like I said, there's so many other things we worked on that the groundwork's laid for a lot of good collaborations in the future. So it'll still be a good thing in the long run. Excellent.
So then moving on to our number 2 item here, some legislation is being discussed at the state level. It's called the TIF decrement legislation. This could somewhat be important to Oshkosh, correct?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Senator Gudex, who sponsored the legislation, he's our local senator, and he was very aware of things that were going on, particularly in our South Shore redevelopment area, and how important it was for us. The idea behind this TIF decrement legislation is that there are TIF districts that over the last 5 years, due to a really rough economy, the value of the district, of the TIF district, is actually less than its original base value. And the whole principle of a tax increment district is you have a base value and then you have a value that exceeds it. Well, right now, just the opposite has taken place. And for us to have a successful TIF district, we have to get back to zero before we go above that. And what this legislation allows is for TIF districts to reset their value based on what the current market is. And Senator Gudex, who's a former council member down in Fond du Lac, had an appreciation for what we were going through and was understanding and was able to get this through. And quite honestly, it's been held up in the Assembly, not the Senate, where Senator Gudex had forwarded it. And even though our local Assembly person Gordon Hintz was also in support of this. It was still getting held up in the Assembly, and I think we've worked through those issues, or the legislators have worked through these issues. But it's very important if our South Shore redevelopment area is going to develop as we hope it would, we're going to need a successful TIF district, and right now we're, as they call it, underwater with our TIF districts, and this will enable us to reverse that problem.
Okay, so I mean, right now it's being discussed. Is there any kind of timetable or anything that we can look forward to this, or kind of still off in the distance a ways?
My understanding is, excuse me, there are still a couple compromises that need to be worked out between the Assembly and the Senate. Once they can reach some compromise, then it would have to be adopted by the Assembly, and then that revised version would be kicked back to the Senate for their confirmation that they agree that these changes are acceptable. And Senator Gudex has been shepherding this, and we're hoping that that within the next month or so that we'll finally be able to get this, and then we can begin the process to reset our property values in our district.
Excellent. Something else that's also being discussed, having to do with fossil fuels a little bit. I know you wanted to touch on this. With the Sustainability Advisory Board, a divestment policy, can you elaborate a little bit more on that for us?
Sure. Several communities have taken up the issue of fossil fuels, and more than just saying, okay, we need to rely less on fossil fuels, which is a very worthwhile goal. This takes a different tact and says that the city should take a leadership role by divesting itself of any investments it may have in companies that deal in fossil fuels. And that's a fairly controversial issue. The city's investment policy does not provide for any ownership of any stocks of any kind, fossil fuel companies or anything, because those are too risky for our investment pool. Mm-hmm. But we do have securities such as bonds that may be held or may be issued by, say, a fossil fuels company, Exxon or something. I recall seeing an Exxon bond in our portfolio some time ago. And I would suspect that we still have several of those. So the issue is that we would no longer invest in any of those. We would stop buying those bonds. And then we would also divest or get rid of those, sell them off over the next 5 years. And so that's really what the issue is. And the council hasn't had an opportunity to discuss it. I think they're going to plan to discuss it in the future, but there's a lot of questions that are being asked right now, and so I think we need to get some of those questions answered before we move on.
Excellent. A lot of things, a lot of changes and things being discussed, a lot of questions. Something also that's kind of hot right now is the CAP Act, the Community Access Preservation Act, and that actually relates directly to us sitting right here in this studio.
You have no vested interests at all, do you?
Not at all.
No, it is important for OCMS. And OCMS is probably one of the best, if not the best, local community media services in the state. And I'm very impressed with what we've been able to do. We took advantage of laws that had been in place that enabled us to have such a wonderful community media division that we do have. But over the years, certain things have been whittled away, and U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin has proposed this, and actually council is going to be taking it up to support it at Tuesday's council meeting. But it really does three things that are important for us. Number one, it prevents cable operators from charging us as a municipality for equipment to transmit the channel.
Right now we're only broadcasting on Time Warner Cable, so this will also affect, other cable providers like UVerse.
Correct, and right now, in order for UVerse to transmit, we have to provide them with equipment that enables them to transmit it, and we just don't think that that's fair that subscribers who have been getting it under Time Warner are not getting it under UVerse or some other competitor, and we believe that the company should be providing that as part of their service. Right. Secondly, it requires the PEG channels, the public access, education, government access, which is what we're on, to be carried on the basic tier along with the local channels, which means it's available for anybody who gets the cable service rather than you need an advanced level of service, because then you're paying extra just to get the PEG channel. We don't believe that's fair. We think the whole idea is public access should be available for the public. And it really doesn't serve us if you have to pay extra to get that level of service. That should be
available for everyone.
The basic model that you pay for when you're paying for cable. And then lastly, a lot of the equipment that we've been able to use over the years that enables us to have these wonderful programs has been, most of it's been gotten with funds that have been paid in by the cable companies to purchase operating equipment, capital equipment, and this would restore that requirement that the cable companies provided. And with more cable companies, they can share in these costs, in my belief, but it would enable us to have this equipment so that as things wear off, we've got this ability to replenish this equipment over time, because the people watching it are going to benefit from it. They're paying the cable fee. We think the cable company should be paying for those things. So I think it's an uphill battle, to be honest with you, but I think it's something worthwhile to at least make the public aware of it. And if you feel strongly about this, let your senators know that this is something that warrants consideration, because this enables you to keep cable channel 10.
And keep watching your city manager's report.
And all the other wonderful things we do, not just us,
Yes.
but just there's so many other things that we do, local programming. It's not just about government access, it's public access. People doing their own programs. If they can't do that, then they're really being denied something that cable was meant to be broadcast to everybody.
Right. And I know this has been discussed a lot over the years, so it'll be interesting to see where it ends up this time.
Absolutely.
So moving on to one of the fun parts of City Manager's Report, Question Mark, a chance where viewers are able to email in questions for their city manager, and he can answer them as best as he can. You can email your questions to, city manager, or questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us. If you have a question, go ahead and email it, and City Manager Mark Roloff will answer it for you. So let's take a look and see what the question is this week. All right, Mark, so this one is, will we have enough salt to last us through the rest of winter? Now, this is a pretty relevant question here, so what can you say about our salt usage?
Do we have enough salt? Well, I guess my real honest answer is I hope so. But yeah, I think we do. Kevin Ewan, star of the Weather Channel, as we forgot to mention.
He's a local celebrity.
He's a local celebrity. He was on the Weather Channel last week and was asked that very question. And the salt, we've used about 2,600 tons of salt already this winter. That sounds like a lot, but actually, it's we've had similar years like this, and we're ahead of most by about 750 tons. But it's not so bad that it's something to worry about. We have about 2,200 tons left in our barn, and we've got about 1,100 tons that are on reserve, that are on order, that we will get by the end of the year. So we haven't even gone through half of our supply of what our allocation is for the year. So now this has been a pretty rough month or so, but a lot of it's been more on the cold side. The annoying ice storms are probably more worrisome than even the big snowfalls. The cold weather as of late, when it gets this cold and it snows, you really can't do a lot because the salt doesn't melt it that much. So we're actually not doing a lot of salt at this point. But our folks use a process using salt brine and other anti-icing devices to reduce our usage of salt. So there are things we can do over the course of the year to manage our salt supply. If we really get short and we get some snowfalls, sometimes we add gravel or some pea gravel to that to keep things stretching it out. But I don't think we're at that point yet, and hopefully we won't be. But it's something that we monitor on a regular basis so that we know. And you saw the spreadsheet that they use to keep track of our salt usage.
Very meticulous.
Every day we know exactly how many tons of salt we're using. So I think we're going to be okay. But I just want to assure everybody that we do monitor it on a regular basis.
Excellent. So we're going to take a quick break here on City Manager's Report, and when we come back, we will go over the City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, January 28th.
Hi, I'm Mayor Burktown, and I'm asking for your help. The city has several boards and commissions that play important roles in just about every aspect of local government. Whether it's the Parks Board or the Landmarks Commission, these and other boards act as a forum for citizens to address their concerns and questions about Oshkosh city government. The boards also provide members the opportunity to make positive suggestions to the council or city staff to move the city forward. So here's where we need your help. For our city to work effectively, we need active citizen participation. Many of our boards and commissions currently need members. We're asking for just a few hours of your time each month to serve on one of our boards or commissions and help to ensure a strong democratic process. So please consider serving on a city board or commission. For an application, visit the city website, stop by the city manager's office in City Hall, or call 236-5000. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to your possible involvement.
All right, we're back on City Manager's Report, and now it's that time of the program to go over the City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, January 28th, 2014. We got a lot to talk about, so we're going to go ahead and get started right away, Mark. First off, there's going to be a joint workshop with the Plan Commission and Redevelopment Authority having to do with the riverfront development. What can you tell us about that?
The idea is that we've had some development projects coming up, and there have been questions about, well, what's our vision of the riverfront? What do we want to see there? And so I think this is an opportunity for all three groups, Plan Commission, Redevelopment Authority, and the Council, to take a look at what cohesive vision do they want. And we have to take a look at the economic realities of what we need for our TIF district there to succeed. And you heard me talk earlier about that. And then discuss realistic options for what we can do out there based on these economic realities. So that's the discussion, and certainly an idea of what we want to see down the road. Take a look at what we've talked about in the past. So a little look to the past, a little look to the future. Excellent.
And now moving on to the first item within the agenda that we want to talk about, an upgrade to the wastewater treatment plant control system of about $4 million. Now this is a pretty significant investment in the plant. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the $4 million that's on the agenda is only about, it's not even the whole project. The whole project's probably closer to $6 million. This is just a portion of it. But the idea is that our treatment plant was fully modernized back in the 1970s. So it's been about 35 years since we've done a lot of this major equipment. Most of this equipment is probably about 30 years old, but it's between 15 and 35. And it's run its useful life, and we need to replace it. And when we're talking about increases in sewer rates and things like that, it's a function of this equipment that we need to purchase. So when you ask about why are we increasing our rates, we need to upgrade our plant. We've got an excellent plant, but we need to maintain it over the long term, and this is part of it.
Okay, great. So moving on to the next one, number 11 here is having to do with the Southwest Industrial Park expansion. Not a lot has been going on out there. So what exactly is this?
Well, right after I got here in 2008, we were talking about the next phase of expansion of the industrial park, and because of the economy, it really kind of just went to the wayside. But there's a little buzz of activity, and we think it's appropriate that we start finalizing that design so we can construct it in 2015. So the idea is that we're going to use this firm, both Infrastructure and Environment. And this is the area of the industrial park that's east of Clairville Road and north of the railroad tracks, which is north of Highway 91. And the idea is that we will have an entrance to the park off of Clairville and loop through that backside area north of the tracks. And then we have larger sites available for prospective industrial sites. So when the state's looking for locations of potential industrial sites, we can put this one on the map and say, we have streets, we have sewer, we have water, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, so this in a way has kind of been a long time coming.
Oh my gosh, yeah, this is a long time coming, and it's about time we get moving on it now.
Great. Then directly after that, item number 12 has to do with the Stringham Creek Drainage Basin. Where exactly is this located? I know we have got a graphic to kind of help us out here.
We do, and I think for some people you might want to call it the South Park Avenue watershed because Stringham Creek really runs along South Park Avenue. On the lower left of the screen, that's the area just south and west of the Highway 41, Highway 44 interchange, and it pretty much runs on both sides of South Park through the quarry, and then it gets a little smaller. Once it gets past South Park itself at Ohio Street, then it gets very small and drains to the river down near Iowa Street, but on Ohio Street is where we've had a great deal of flooding over the years, and the whole idea is we need a plan for this area. We don't have a formal plan. We know that there's flooding there, and we know we need to address it, and we know the quarry probably plays a big part of that, but we don't have any specific plan. So the idea is that we need to develop a long-range plan, identify potential projects out there, and then get rolling on them, just like we have with Sawyer and Campbell and so many of the other watersheds throughout the city.
Excellent. And now, what besides South Park really is affected by this?
Well, it's that area, and there's the map and shows you Stringham Creek. It's a large part of the south side, going both sides of South Park Avenue, goes down not quite to 20th Avenue, but gets really close to 20th Avenue, and gets kind of close to north of 9th, 6th, but it's that stretch of Ohio between 11th Avenue and about 6th Avenue where major flooding occurred back in 2008, and that's the area that we really want to focus on.
All right, so moving on to the next project here, for a street concrete paving program, item number 13. Do you want to describe that a little bit more for us?
Well, this is our 2014 street projects. This is the north side, Bowen Street, and I've been asked a lot of questions. Well, how do you pick your streets? And we always talk about the underlying infrastructure. And in this case, on Bowen Street, we have a very old, undersized sanitary sewer main. And the idea is that this stretch of Bowen is really only going to be from about New York to Nevada. But eventually, we want to replace all the sanitary sewer south of New York all the way down to the river and eventually eliminate the sewer pump station that's along Bowen in that area between New York and Nevada, because when you have gravity sewers, it's much more reliable. Mother Nature and gravity do a lot better job than pump stations. So that's the reason we've selected this one for 2014.
And are there any other streets besides Bowen that you're going to be looking at in 2014?
Sure. This is just our north side. We also have one on the south side that we're going to be doing, as well as our central project this year is really the one that's carrying over from our City Hall parking lot, the storm water project, and it's immediately north of City Hall into the Middle Village area.
Okay, so, I mean, going out from there in 2015, what are we looking forward to?
Well, now we take off from there, and this project is actually going to be going up Central Avenue over to West Parkway Avenue, and that's going to get done in 2014. In 2015, we've had some recent questions in the paper and whatnot. Well, what about East Parkway? Well, all I would ask anybody to do is take a look at our capital improvement plan. East Parkway is scheduled for 2015. That may be subject to final council approval and funding, but it's imminent that we're going to get East Parkway done. I would encourage everybody to take a look at the capital improvement plan. It's on the city's website, and just take a look. And if you're curious about if your street's on the drawing board, just look it up and just scroll down through the street project. There's a section called Comprehensive Street Improvements. All the information is right there for you to look at. And I think it's appropriate that people know when their street may be done in the future.
Excellent. So we got lots planned for 2014 and moving into 2015.
Oh yeah, moving on.
All right, so going on to number 18 here, accepting a land donation. Now, this actually isn't a very long length of land having to do with Riverwalk improvements. What can you tell us about that?
Sure. This has to do with the south side of the Riverwalk. And in this case, this is immediately east of Oregon Street as it crosses over to Jackson. So this map shows you the north side of the river where the Riverwalk's already at. You see Beckett's, you see City Center area. And then on the south side, that orange shaded area is the area where we're talking about. And the developers of the Geldwin site, which is now called the Morgan District LLC, they are donating this land to the city for the eventual development of a Riverwalk there. And we're pursuing moving some state grants over to this area. And part of that grant would require a land donation, and the Morgan District LLC has graciously agreed to donate this land to the city so we can get this project done. So we're very excited about what this means.
So really, this is just the next phase. We're just kind of taking it in smaller chunks here.
They are smaller chunks because the seawall on this side of the river is not in the greatest shape, and so we need to do this a little bit at a time, and they're donating all the land we need to get the next phase done. So we're very appreciative of all the groups, the Schwab and the Lang families that are involved in this partnership that have been working with us to get this done.
Great. And then really briefly, item number 19 right after that, stormwater utility rates are going up. Is that correct?
Well, sadly they are, but this is a function of all the projects we've been doing. We just talked about Stringham Creek a moment ago. Our rates have been going up. They've been going up low double digits the last couple of years, and that's because our rates were, in my opinion, artificially low when we were doing many things. We bankrolled some money, and now we need to play a little bit of catch up with meeting our debt obligations. We're issuing a lot of debt. We've done about $70 million worth of projects over the last 5-6 years, and you have to pay for those, and eventually this is how we pay for it. So I understand people are concerned about the impact on their utility bill, but I can assure you that we're spending these funds wisely, and the projects that we're talking about are the ones that are getting done. They're in neighborhoods. They're in these watersheds that are in need of improvement. So it's our responsibility to make sure we spend this money wisely, and I think we're doing that.
Great. And then another new resolution that we wanted to touch on is the authorization of an amendment to the budget, having to just kind of reconcile the budget with what council authorized for wage adjustments for 2014.
Right. Council asked us to find some options to fund the remainder of the increase that they authorized for our non-represented employees. And this is just cleaning that up so that we can print the final budget and everything is in order, that what they've authorized for raises is consistent with what they authorized in the budget. So just cleaning it up.
Great. Moving on to one of the final things that we wanted to discuss here, item number 28, having to do with residential design standard schedule. What's the plan?
Well, really what we want to do is just give a council an idea of what we're looking for as we move forward. The Plan Commission will take this up on February 4th with a vote on what they're going to recommend to council. So I think the council wants to know, well, when are we going to get it, and how much time are we going to have to look at the final version? Because the Plan Commission can make some changes to recommend to the council, and I think they want some time to absorb that. So I think they're going to discuss how they want to do that, and then the next phases.
Right. What are the next steps for that?
Well, assuming that the design standards get adopted, one of the more controversial areas is the areas of the target neighborhoods. And if we're going to do that, we need incentives. And I think it's appropriate that we take a look at incentives so that we can bridge the gap for people who may not be able to afford these type of improvements. If they want to improve their house, we want to make sure that they have adequate funds, and can we provide incentives for them to want to do these things and improve the entire neighborhood, not just their own property.
Excellent. And then the last thing that we wanted to just remind people of is the 2014 State of the City date has been announced. If you want to go ahead and announce that for us today.
We got the date set. It's going to be Monday, March 31st. Starts at 6 p.m. You're going to be hearing a lot about it. We're going to be plugging it really good. But it's also the opportunity for the departments to showcase some of the things they're doing, talk about a lot of the collaborations we've got going on. It's a great event. If you haven't been to it, I really encourage you to take a look at what's going on. You get a chance to interact with department heads. It's a great event, and we're looking forward to people attending.
We definitely are. And that's going to wrap it up for your City Manager's Report today. Thanks again for joining us, Mark.
Great.
Again, the City Council meeting is this Tuesday, January 28th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on City Cable 10 and on our website, oshkoshcommunitymedia.org. You can also check out our YouTube channel. Thanks again for joining us on your City Manager's Report, and we'll see you next time.